Well, welcome. This is your mini menu for day 3 of the Toronto Summer Institute. And we begin with, well, I get to say welcome, and Kirk gives us a meditation. And then you get to hear John McKnight. And John will talk about stories, and then he's going to reflect a little bit on Judith Snow. And then you get to hear Judith Snow, no less. You're ready to fill your heart and your head and your hands with more great content and thinking about the future.
So at this point, day 3, we kind of know what to expect. So if you're willing to close your eyes, we're going to breathe ourselves together into this space.
We are privileged this morning to welcome John McKnight. And so welcome, John, once again. Welcome back, because it's almost like we've never done this without you, and we can't imagine doing it without you. So welcome, John.
Well, thanks, Jack. It's wonderful to be back at the Summer Institute. I'd like to reflect a little on the importance of stories, particularly for those of us who are gathered here. Stories tell us who we are. Our story is who we are as we understand it. And every story is different and also untrue, because a story about ourselves is our take on ourselves. It's how we see it. But obviously, other people would have different stories about us. One of the reasons why sharing is so essential, for us to know who we are. We need not just our story, but the story of all of the people who know us. So in a sense, we are the sum of our stories, our story about ourselves and the stories of others who relate to and interact with us. And that's why sharing is so much more informative and wisdom producing than formal teaching and learning. Stories allow us to learn, to have wisdom, to develop empathy, to love each other, and to form communities. TSI is a time that we set aside to tell the stories of people, our personal story, stories of the people who are around us, stories of the people who have passed on, and they are all different stories. And when we celebrate these differences, we share, we learn, and we love each other. Now, I want to finish with a few words about the book of Judith. Judith Snow. She was a very spiritual person. And she said to me one time, she said, you know, it wasn't until I was in the middle of my 30s that I learned who I was and could live in the world the way I wanted. She said, because in my mid-30s, I came to understand that I am not a mistake. I am exactly who God created me to be. I have gifts. My mission is to share those gifts and to receive those of others. And that was her story. And that's our story. We are the people with gifts and stories and differences. What could be better?
I was about 6, and I was with my dad. He was helping me get dressed for the morning. And he told me a story. He told me that he had heard on the radio that doctors in California were killing children with Down syndrome because they felt those babies could never grow up to have a life that was worth living. And then he went on to tell me that when he was a boy, he grew up in Biddeford in England. And what they did then was they grew potatoes and they raised cows and sheep. And he said a person with Down syndrome was hardly even noticed in their town because people with Down syndrome can grow potatoes and raise cows and sheep just like everybody else. But if I had been born at the time he was a boy, they would have strangled me by the time I was 3 years old because they wouldn't have known what I could do when I grew up. So I asked him, "Why are you keeping me alive?" And he said, "Maybe you'll find the answer."